Welcome back to an all-new episode of Tiger Tally. I'm Taylor Harrison. Thanks for joining us. The Auburn softball team is off to a hot start. The team opened up the season in the Triple Crown tournament in Mexico, finishing with 3 victories and 1 loss. The number 2 Tigers defeated number 1 Oklahoma in a close 3-2 match, but then lost 2-1 against number 13 Washington in a 10-inning thriller. Auburn went on to defeat Nebraska and shut out BYU. The team returns home for its next game when they face the SIUE Cougars on Thursday at 6 p.m. The women's tennis team is also on a roll. The Tigers competed in the ITA Team Indoor National Championships. They opened up with a loss to number 7 Ohio State, but would bounce back with a victory over Yale. The 14th-ranked Tigers finished out the competition with a 4-2 victory over number 11 Georgia Tech. Women's basketball faced another tough loss over the weekend. The Tigers lost 57-51 to Georgia in Auburn's pink game. With that loss, Auburn is on a 4-game losing streak and falls to 5-7 in SEC play. Up next on the schedule, the Ole Miss Rebels. Auburn will travel to Oxford on Thursday for that game. The men's basketball team hosted Mississippi State after coming off a big win against Alabama.
It was one of the highest-scoring games in Auburn program history as the Tigers defeated the Mississippi State Bulldogs in the Auburn Arena by a score of 98-92. The Tigers came out hot, shooting 8 3-pointers in the first half and going into halftime ahead by 20 points. Bryce Brown led the way for the Tigers with 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists.
I felt like they were sagging off, so I felt like that was a little disrespectful. So we took advantage of it. Me, C.J. Lane, D'Angelo, we all took advantage of that and just knocked down the shots.
Austin Wiley also scored double-digit points, scoring 14 points on the night. Quindary Weatherspoon led the Bulldogs with 25 points in this game. Then, the Mississippi State Bulldogs fought their way back and were 5 points away from the lead in the final minute. It was a crazy last 2.5 minutes in this game as there were 19 fouls committed. The Bulldogs' next challenge will be this Saturday against the University of South Carolina. The Tigers' next match will be against the Florida Gators this Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the Auburn Arena. In Auburn, Meredith Brito, Eagle Eye TV.
After that win, Auburn went on the road for a match with Ole Miss, but lost 90-84. The Tigers will be back in action tonight for a game at home with the Florida Gators, who are currently ranked 10th in the nation and are on a 6-game winning streak. More changes in football. Auburn announced last week the hiring of Larry Porter as a tight ends and H-backs coach and recruiting coordinator. Porter was the running backs coach at North Carolina for the past 3 seasons. Porter was also the running backs coach at LSU from 2005 to 2009, before moving briefly into a head coaching job at Memphis. Porter has a total of 20 years of coaching experience in college football. Coming up next, the NHL is celebrating 100 years of existence, and the projected number 1 NFL draft pick has made a big decision surrounding draft day. Plus, we will update you on the latest in the Charles Oakley-Knicks situation. You're watching Tiger Tally on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6. The National Hockey League is celebrating its 100th year of existence by honoring some of the greatest players, coaches, and memorable moments over the past century. A matchup took place between the Detroit Red Wings and the Toronto Maple Leafs to honor the centennial anniversary. The Maple Leafs defeated the Red Wings 5-4 in overtime. The Boston Bruins fired head coach Claude Julien last week. The news first broke out on Tuesday after a 2-day break for the team. Julien was the first with the Bruins for 10 seasons, finishing with a 419-246-94 record. He leaves as Boston's all-time coaching wins leader. The team has announced that assistant coach Bruce Cassidy will be the interim head coach. Since taking over head coaching duties, Cassidy has led the Bruins to a 2-0 record. Defensive end Myles Garrett has decided not to attend the 2017 NFL Draft in Philadelphia. The former Texas A&M star has said that he wants to experience the moment of being drafted at home with friends and family in Arlington, Texas. Garrett has been widely regarded as the best player in the draft, and many experts and NFL insiders project that he will go number 1 to the Cleveland Browns. The New York Knicks have banned former player Charles Oakley indefinitely and fired the arena security chief following an incident at the Madison Square Garden last Thursday. Oakley was seen on camera getting into a verbal and physical altercation with some of the members of the crowd. He was escorted by security out of the arena. He was later arrested and charged with 3 counts of assault. Coming up next, we'll discuss all that happened with Oakley and the Knicks, plus more. You're watching Tiger Tally, Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6.
I hope that you've been able to learn a strong work ethic surrounded by character, integrity, perseverance, so that when your 1 second comes, you'll be prepared for it.
Chris Davis.
45, there goes Davis!
Your 1 second, our 1 second is now. And our lives have been guided by the principles of one of the greatest academic institutions in the country, Auburn University.
Welcome back to Tiger Tally. I'm Taylor Harrison, joined now by Winton Hurd, here to talk about the latest in NBA, NFL, and Auburn news. Up first, surely you all have heard about by now, Knicks legend Charles Oakley was banned from Madison Square Garden after a scuffle with security and Knicks chairman James Dolan. What are your takes on the situation, as well as your thoughts on some of the accusations regarding Oakley that have surfaced?
Well, Charles Oakley, my man. I was actually shocked when I first heard about this, but I feel like this whole situation was handled terribly.
Really?
From what I understand, listening to other analysts talk about this, Charles Oakley was not well informed as to why he was being asked to get out of his seat. I think, especially when it's not an actual NYPD police officer, it was a head security for Madison Square Garden. He had a ticket to be at the game, was in the correct seat, and had every right to be there. So, and Charles Oakley is a guy who says what's on his mind, believes in what he says, and he's going to pretty much tell it like it is. Now, there is speculation that says he probably has problems with alcohol, things like that. I don't know how true that is, but, if I put myself in his shoes, I would probably react the same way. If you buy a ticket, you put a lot of years into that organization, you're a beloved player there, and you have every right to be there, and suddenly you're asked to get out of your seat for unknown reasons. Of course, you're going to get hostile, especially when people trying to reach and grab you. I think they could have handled the situation a whole lot better than they did on their behalf. And maybe Charles wouldn't have, got as aggressive as he did, and it just caused an unnecessary scene. Because the Knicks have enough problems, dealing with what they're going to do with Melo come free agency. So it's a lot that they need to be focused on. This just brought a lot more bad attention to the Knicks.
I agree. Over the weekend, Kevin Durant returned to this former city for the first time since leaving Oklahoma City. In the Warriors-Thunder game, plenty of fans voiced their feelings by booking KD during the game, bringing signs calling him a cupcake and creating shirts saying "coward." Do you think the fans can move past this now that his return finally happened? Or do you think there will always be a bitter taste between the Thunder fans and Kevin Durant?
Oh, this is not going away anytime soon. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be honest. Look at it from a sports fan world. In a perfect world, yeah, they'll probably forget about it. But this is a bad divorce, as I stated before. Like this, they're going to give KD this booing and cupcake and call him soft and everything for leaving for probably the next 5, 6, 7 seasons, however long they feel like they want to do it. And some fans are really never going to get over this. So there will be fans that will embrace him back in over time. Even him and Russell still have to come back on good terms. But this is eventually going to go away. But as of right now, fans are going to be fans. And they're going to just heckle KD as many times as they possibly can. He will hear about it every time he comes back to OKC. It'll never 100% be fixed. Like I said, it was just a bad divorce, and there's no getting back together in this one.
Right.
So, but I enjoyed it. I got a kick out of it, the whole cupcake T-shirts. Even some of the Warriors players actually got some of the T-shirts off the fans.
Oh, really?
They sold Warriors merchandise. I know Draymond Green and Steph Curry in particular, during their post-game press conferences, actually auctioned off and autographed 2 warm-up suits and gave them to the fans in exchange for a cupcake T-shirt.
Wow.
So that was interesting.
Wow. All right, and before we move on from the NBA, do you have an MVP candidate that has really emerged from the pack and that you think deserves the honor for this season?
Oh, it's my man Russell Westbrook.
Why is that?
He's averaging almost a triple-double every single night, and if he doesn't, he's probably 2 rebounds off from getting it. The guy, I knew he could play when KD was there, but now that KD has left, you're actually getting a chance to really see what Russell Westbrook can do on his own. He still turned the ball over too much, but that's going to happen when he's your main man. He's got to take the most shots and make the most plays happen. So, people have to understand, yeah, Russ is averaging maybe 10 turnovers a game, but, he's also scoring probably 30, 40 a game and getting 10-plus rebounds and getting 13 assists. And when the smallest guy is getting the rebounds, first of all, that's a problem. Where's Enes Kanter and where's Steven Adams? Guys are 7-footers. You should be getting the rebounds, not Russ. But that just goes to show what kind of player he is. He plays with a lot of heart, and that's why he's a big fan of mine. I got him for MVP right now.
All right. Last week, we saw the New England Patriots come back from behind and defeat the Atlanta Falcons in one of the most historic and memorable Super Bowls of all time. Tom Brady received Super Bowl MVP honors for the 4th time in his career, the most by any player. Do you think Brady is the best Super Bowl MVP of all time, or is there another player at the top of your list?
If I had to put, I'm going to speak from a quarterback perspective, that's what I'm experienced with. So if I had to put another guy with Tom Brady, I'd have to say Drew Brees, just because those two guys in the modern era have put up outstanding numbers, probably the best we've seen probably since Peyton Manning's or the Brett Favre's of the world. The only bad thing for Drew Brees is, though, he's on a terrible team. He's on a team that doesn't get really much publicity. The Saints pretty much had a down year this year. But, Drew Brees threw for over 5,000 passing yards this past season, threw for 37 touchdowns. Super Bowl 44, and is that when they actually won the Super Bowl against the Colts, with Peyton Manning was the quarterback of that team at the time after Hurricane Katrina. And that city just really needed something to cheer about. And, Drew Brees is consistent. So I just looked at his past 10 seasons, and he's always putting up those kind of numbers. But it's almost like, a quarterback needs a good team, just like a receiver needs a good quarterback. Right. Otherwise, you don't get noticed. But, numbers speak for himself. But I think if I had to put one, I think Drew Brees.
Okay. All right. Brady also won his 5th Super Bowl, the most of any quarterback to ever play the game. Does this now make him the greatest quarterback of all time?
He is. As much, even if you're not a fan of the Patriots, and if you can't stand Tom Brady, it's no looking past this now. The man is the GOAT. He's the only quarterback ever to have 5 Super Bowl rings. And if he plays probably a couple more years, he might have one that he can, put on the dresser and 5 for his fingers. He is the GOAT. I can't even understand what happened with the Atlanta Falcons, honestly. But just seeing what happened, that solidified it for me. I feel like, Tom Brady, you also got to have a little luck, too. Last couple Super Bowls, I still question Pete Carroll's call to throw the ball on the 1-yard line. That gave Tom Brady his 4th Super Bowl ring. But, just to see that the Patriots scored 31 unanswered points. That, to me, if you can score 31 unanswered points in basically a half, basically a 17-minute span, that's a great team. And, that's why I always say, get up on the Patriots, but you can never count them out because you got that guy, Tom Brady, back there.
Right.
And, he's just that deadly with the ball. And I think, getting that 5th ring basically solidified his spot at the top as being the best of all time.
Okay. From Houston to Mexico, we're going to transition to them from Auburn softball team. They started out number 2 in the preseason rankings and won 3 out our first 4 games in the Triple Crown tournament. I know it's early in the season, but do you think this team has the potential to go all the way again this year?
I don't see why not, but softball and baseball kind of go hand in hand for me. Okay. I think those 2 sports right there, first of all, they're long seasons. It's a lot of, expectation probably there, and it's a lot of work on the body, but it's also a game of luck, too. You got to get on hot streaks, and you got to be able to stay consistent. You can't really have up and down years or get put on the bubble, be on the outside looking in. Teams just really have to stay focused, in the sport of softball. Things are going to happen. More bad than good is going to happen. And this is the one sport, where failure really happens more than success does. But it's about finding that consistency, getting on the win streak. And basically, they're off to a great start, starting at 3-1. And they need to keep that up because it's all about getting off to great starts early. So that way, if you do have a slip up mid-season, you don't have to win so many games to catch back up later on.
All right, I agree. All right, well, that's all we have for you tonight. But good news, we're back next week for an all-new episode. Thanks for tuning in. See you back next week.